Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina,
And I'm Kevin.
and we are here after the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we have our seventh Grand Prix winner this year.
Seventh, controversially. We've got lots to say about
we've got we've
it.
got opinions.
A
Let's just
few,
say
couple.
we've got opinions. But regardless of our opinions, there is a seventh winner. And spoiler alert: Oscar Piastri won in Hungary. It is his maiden win, and yeah,
In spectacular fashion, but it wasn't because he did drive a very good race, but it wasn't his race that was spectacular.
right.
But
Right.
yeah,
The race in general was spectacular because of
yes,
the drama.
yes,
But uh yeah, and we'll talk about all of the things today.
yeah. This felt like a race where it's everything we wanted in a race, and nobody gave a shit about what happened below
No.
10. Nobody even really cared what happened below 6. I
No.
couldn't tell you, I could barely tell you what happened from 6 down.
Yeah. I mean, at some points they were, showing the replays of something that happened and I'm like, I don't
Who
care.
cares? Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what's happening?
Bring back that little live
Yeah,
box.
exactly.
Make it bigger.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, Hungary, uh, free practice is nothing really to report. Couple red flags on Friday. Anything on Saturday morning? FP3? I don't think
I think
so.
there was a red flag, wasn't there? Or maybe not. Doesn't matter.
With
Doesn't really matter.
uneventful
No.
FP free practice this weekend. Uh, and then we jump right into quali,
Yeah.
which was on Saturday. It had been beautiful temperatures all day for the free practice. Saturday quali, rain,
Yeah, they
which
had
they
the
weren't really expecting, but
well, yeah, they had the F2 race, which was, I think, the end of it was doused in rain, and then
yeah,
stopped just about 5 minutes before qualifying,
yeah,
which
just
dried up real quick.
and then started and then stopped and dried really quickly
Yeah,
by the
like
time we got to Q3.
nobody went. There was not a green or a blue tire to be seen.
No, and they didn't have to delay at all.
No, the only delay were the people without tires.
Yes.
A couple, a
Yes, there
couple.
were a few people. But yeah, I think a bit of unexpected rain, which obviously throws a wrench in it when you've been practicing in dry and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden it's raining. I mean, they know what to do, but the first person out, I think, was Magnussen or Hulkenberg.
I
It was
think
a
they both went
Haas.
out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, and they were on slicks, they were on soft tires. So
yeah,
easy
because
enough.
right before everybody's wondering, are we going to go on inters or
Yeah.
whatever? Maybe, maybe not. And they came right out in the reds, and
Yeah.
it seemed fine. Everybody's like, okay, sure, let's
Yeah.
them screw up their out lap first and see what
Well,
happens. And
exactly. Well, it was funny because you kind of saw some cars, the pre-show, the cars are just sitting in their garages
yeah,
with no tires because at that point they're like,
they had no idea
"What do
what they
we
were doing.
put on?"
Yeah,
And then they're like, "Oh, Haas, you guys figure it out." So,
you guys play
and it
bumper
was fun.
cars and figure it out.
You guys figure it out.
Yeah,
Um, Q1 was
Q1 is
kind
where
of
we
the
had
only,
almost all the drama. A little
yeah,
bit of drama at the end of Q3, but
yeah.
yeah, we had Perez, who was he was actually he qualified. I think he was at
He was like 6.
was
No,
he
I
that
don't
high?
think
No,
I
I don't
don't
think it
think he
was
was
that high. I think
9 maybe?
he was in the top
8 or
10. I think it
9.
was, yeah, something like that. He was at 8 or 9.
Yeah,
And he went back out for another run. Um,
with
I don't know
6
why,
minutes
because he
left.
probably, yeah. And then just completely lost it. Lost his car, went into the barriers. And then for anybody who doesn't know, if you have to be rescued for whatever reason, like whether you're beached in the gravel or if you're
Yeah,
in your car's undrivable, you are out in that qualifying session. So I mean that automatically promoted Magnussen, who went to
yes,
15th, and Perez started 16th. And so that
yes,
is another another race where he is
Yeah.
out qualified by Logan Sargent just by
Well,
him keeping it on track.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, he did
and
do pretty well.
so his time wasn't bad, but again, he everybody started to do better times, so it just you saw him drop and drop and drop all the way down, and then it
But I don't think his time would have been bad enough to be
no, I
out.
think his time he would have made it to Q2.
Yeah,
Definitely would have made it
yeah,
to Q2.
yeah.
Um,
And it was very like it didn't really look like it was. He lost it out of an S somehow, or he had
something
a little bit of an
snapped. Yeah.
oversteer, and he was
Yeah.
done.
Absolutely done. The car was mangled.
Not what you want when you know that these next two races determine your future in this
Yeah.
I was gonna say company, in this team.
In the company.
I guess in the company, yeah.
In
They're
the
not,
company.
he's not driving for Red Bull anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like they're gonna demote him to RBs, like,
Yeah,
he
or
will
he's gonna go to like
he'll be
rally or
gone.
something. They're like, no, you're
Yeah.
done.
Um, so yeah, I mean, pretty bad crash. Front left tire off, wing broken, back
Yeah,
rear wing broken, hanging off the front or hanging off the side. Uh, yeah, they had to get the crane in, which shows the bottom of the Red Bull
again.
yet again.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's done that already a couple times
Yeah.
this season, so they
Yeah.
know. They know.
It's
Perez is
just
just everybody else's
yeah.
saving grace at this point.
Yeah, that's why other teams have gotten closer is because they keep seeing the bottom
Of
of
Perez's
Perez's
car, yeah,
car.
yeah.
Uh, so 6 minutes left, it's a red flag, and then they clean everything up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
it was remarkably
it was
quick.
20, 25 minutes maybe.
Yeah,
Everything pretty much
if even
most of
that,
it
yeah.
stayed off of the track, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it was just making sure the barriers were okay, a little bit of gravel,
Yeah, yeah,
getting the car out, getting him out.
yeah,
Um, and then we have in the last 2 minutes, everybody fighting to get their, last or the lower
yeah.
time
Everybody
people,
back out.
back out, and George Russell
Georgie. And I feel
didn't
bad
have
for him,
yeah, I think he felt bad for himself. George and Mercedes didn't put enough fuel in the car.
for him to do another lap. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had to abort, and there was nothing left for him, and he was like, they just
Yeah.
literally left him out there on an island by himself, because if he didn't make it back, he was getting towed back to the
Yeah.
he was gonna have to push it.
That was like rookie mistake. I mean, George took a lot of the blame. He said, because of my first time, it meant that I needed to go back out. And so he was blaming himself for not doing a good time his first go or
Fair enough, but you
but
expect the car is going to go for two flying laps,
you would think.
especially in Q3. Q1,
You
sorry.
Q1, the
Yeah.
first first go round,
You're probably,
you'd
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, um, George out. So the big names uh, that were out were George and Perez.
Yeah.
We also had Zhou Guan Yu out, and both Alpines, Ocon and Gasly, which they went into the pits to
They didn't come
we
back out.
thought no, we thought to maybe change tires.
They did one flying lap, and it was just like, "Yeah, we're done.
That
Just forget it." Just
that's it.
were they hungover? Like, did they
I
not
don't
feel like
know.
coming back out? What?
They just did not come
They
out.
gave up.
Literally, and like not even like one of them. They both did
Yeah.
not come out. Gasly starting 20th and Ocon starting 19th. I mean, hey, to each their own, I guess.
But I mean, they've had better showings over the last 4 races, I'd say.
Yeah,
To just like give up in a qualifying. I mean, we'll talk about what they're showing this week, but not much of it because there wasn't much to show. But
not much.
it was perplexing. I didn't understand why we only had 18 cars out on track for that last 2 minutes or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know. They, like you said, they've been sitting in 12, 11. They've gotten a couple of points,
Yeah.
9, 10. So what happened?
Um,
What happened?
the only thing I think, and I don't understand where it happened with both cars. You think you maybe have either a power unit issue or they're trying to save piece. It doesn't look great, so we're just gonna abort it so we can save it for the race, so we don't
Yeah.
ruin our race, which they ruin the race anyways. But I don't know. I don't know how it would happen to both cars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not sure. Not sure at all. And then Q2, the normal people kind of out. Uh,
yeah. The rest of the bottom kind of, although we kind of switch up a little bit because we did have both RBs make it into Q3, which
True.
they've had struggled to have both of them in there this year.
True.
Um, but you had your Haas, you had your Williams, and the remaining stake. Which actually, you know what, Bottas putting his stake into 12 was impressive.
I actually thought, and this is jumping ahead to the race, but I actually thought Bottas probably had one of the best showings. He didn't get any points,
No,
but he drove really well this weekend.
yeah,
Don't know what's changed, but
he's looking for a seat, so maybe,
he's like,
yeah,
oh, I have to drive?
yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Can't just do commercials?
No,
Funny TikToks for yeah,
those don't
but
bring in the same big bucks.
no. Um, but yeah, so he got the car into 12th, right? Was
Yep,
that?
12th. Yep. Yeah.
And then Q3.
Then we have Q3. Then we have another. Um, I don't want to say interesting. It was almost like I expected Norris to kind of take pole.
Mhm.
And I don't want to sound like a genius because I'm not an absolute dumbass, but it didn't when you see Max put it into first right at the beginning. I thought that like Lando was going to take it. He's just been in such good form. I had no
Yeah.
doubt that he was going to take it.
I also I feel like Max, when he sets the first time, sometimes he can't improve on it. And like he'll take like, you
Well,
know,
most of the time he's never had
10.
to.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly. He'll take tenths of a second off,
yeah,
but he really struggles when he needs to take, you know,
yeah.
quite a bit off. I think when they started Q3, they were putting in times of like 115 or 116,
That's where they're at. Yeah, the
and
115s.
then it ended up at like 112s. Is
No,
that
no, no. It was
oh
115. I think
115?
Lando's
Okay.
time was 115.227.
Okay. So,
And then Oscar, but it surprised me, it was Oscar splitting him,
yeah.
putting himself between Norris and Verstappen. So I mean, they were both very quick.
Yeah,
Their first front row lockout since, is it 2012?
I think so.
Something like that. 2012.
I think
Uh,
so.
I know 2012 was mentioned in there somewhere. I think that's what it was.
That I
Um,
know 2012 was the last time they had a 1-2 win, and that was Alonso
Hamilton.
and Hamilton.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Best of friends.
no,
Um,
the best of friends.
what was impressive too was Hamilton putting it up into fifth, splitting the Ferraris.
Yeah, lots of splitting.
Not by much. I mean, he was just about 150 tenths. Well, 15 tenths, whatever. I guess that's how you would say it. Behind Carlos, and so not like only 5/100ths ahead of Charles.
Yeah,
But Charles again can't best his teammate in qualifying.
right.
In
In
qualifying.
qualifying, yes,
Qualifying.
because we're not sure what happened in the race, but
There was a lot, and
there was a switch with those
I don't
Ferraris.
I don't know what happened.
Because at one point it was looking like Carlos was going to be in
No,
second.
sorry. I know exactly what happened. Carlos lost those places right at the beginning. He
Yes.
lost about 4 places right off the line
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
turn
Pretty
2,
much.
something basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we have Lando, Oscar, Max,
Carlos,
Carlos,
Lewis.
fourth,
Yeah,
Lewis.
Carlos, Lewis,
Yeah.
and Charles.
And unexpected. But not shocking. I mean, we've seen the McLarens putting in the work. I was still very much thinking Max was going to come through. Uh, up until the race started. Until the race
Yeah.
started, I was
Yeah.
like,
I thought it was
um,
going to be. See, I didn't think when the race started that we were going to have it as close as it was because Lando looked quick off that line.
yes.
And then I don't know, somewhere we changed from fourth to fifth or whatever. He lost. Maybe it was his trying to
Yeah.
cut off Oscar. Are we getting into the race yet?
We can.
Yeah.
We can jump into the race today.
Getting ahead of myself here.
No, it's okay. We can jump into the race. So, immediately, initially, it kind of looked like a good start for everybody.
Yes.
Especially the top 4. It was a
Yeah.
good start for everybody. Lando immediately cutting across to
Cut
cut
off
off
Oscar.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Max sees the opening on the outside,
Yeah, he's got a clear path, basically.
goes to take the outside, and we're going into turn 1, 3 cars.
3 wide. Yeah.
3 cars
3
wide,
wide.
and the corner is not that big.
No.
And,
It,
um
it is, but Oscar just didn't give it. He just took it.
no,
He
Oscar
didn't
said, "This
care.
is my corner."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so Max gets pushed off.
Lando's got nowhere to go.
Lando's got nowhere to go because he's stuck in the middle of
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
teammate and his
It's
best
either
friend.
it's either keep it on track or risk hitting your own friend or
Yeah.
ruining your race.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Lando drop to 4th immediately because he just can't figure it out. Max
Yeah. Drop
leaves the
right behind
track.
Lewis.
Um, Max leaves the track but gains the position. Then there's the whole
Yeah.
argument about, I
For
mean,
leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
gaining an advantage, which he did. Um,
Yes, but it's not the case where he had nowhere to go. He
correct.
had to bail out of that. Otherwise, he was causing an accident. I
Correct.
mean, did he leave the track and gain an advantage? Yes. Did he do it himself like we've seen Magnussen do so many times this year? No, he was forced
No.
there, right?
Yeah,
He was avoiding a collision.
he was ahead. If you look at the slow-mo, he is ahead by a hair,
But
but
when you're going that wide,
yeah.
where's the apex?
Yeah. He was just,
It's not in the grandstand.
yeah. I mean, they did uh who was, I think it was Brundle kind of talking about it, and he was saying, Max probably couldn't see Oscar. He could see Lando.
Yeah.
And so and that's why he was saying
He
Lando
pushed me
pushed
off.
me off
Yeah.
because he probably didn't see that Oscar was on the inside. Um
But we do have his pit wall saying after about a lap saying give this position back because
yes.
they didn't think they were going to win that argument.
Well, it went to the stewards. And so it was like, if you don't give this back and the stewards actually look into this,
You're getting a
it's going to
time
be a
penalty.
5-second penalty.
Yeah, yeah.
So just give it back. We're going to get it back. Don't worry about it. And yeah, I think Max was pretty spicy already.
He was, but
So
you look at it when you tell him to give it back, he is already 2.5 seconds ahead of Lando.
Yeah.
About 2 seconds maybe
Yeah.
ahead of Lando. I mean, if I'm Max, I'm making that time up, and you know what? I'll take that 5 seconds. I'll get ahead. I'll fight Oscar.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
Yeah.
take that 5-second penalty. Maybe it's worth the gamble.
We'll see. I mean, I think Max just doesn't like going into the pits and sitting there. That's the problem. He doesn't like a penalty against his name. But the minute sorry, not even the minute, the second he gave that spot back to Lando, he was
He was
right on
on
his
his ass.
ass
Yeah.
again. He
Yeah.
was like,
He took
you can
he
you can
took
go by, but
Lando's
that's it.
yeah, he took Lando's 2-second gap and he
Yeah.
turned it into a half-second gap for himself.
And just kept it and just stayed right on him for so long. He
Yeah.
had opportunities to go around him. He didn't end up getting past him.
No, you can't drive that aggressively for that long. There
No.
was no way.
No. But again, it's Max's race. This is how he drives. This is what he loves to do. He's good at it. This aggressive, and he hasn't had to do it for a couple of years. And we see it get more aggressive later on in in the
Yes.
race.
But this one I can see I don't blame him for the aggression. Like this, I believe
No,
he was wronged in this
in the
instance.
Lando. the
in
Lando
that first
incident.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
turn 1. The rest of the turns,
Yeah.
it's all his fault.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then we kinda just get into a gr no, actually, we completely forgot. Oscar takes off.
yeah,
Oscar ga because
gained 2,
Lando
3
has his
seconds
yeah.
pretty quickly.
Lando and Max and everybody else, their little situation in turn 1, Oscar takes off. Um, and Oscar's in the lead for at least
30 laps
35, yeah, 30
until the first pit stop, wherever he
yeah.
headed.
He was in the lead for a while.
Yeah,
Um, and then everything just kinda settled down for a little bit. There's, overtakes here and there in the back of the grid, but
yeah.
normal racing, you'd say. Uh,
I
lap
think
35 oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I think everybody was just waiting to see who was gonna pit first
Yeah,
and where they're all gonna fall into
yeah,
place. I mean, it's a short track, 70
yeah,
laps. I can't remember exactly what the distance is, but the undercut is huge here.
yeah. Not a lot of passing, yeah, not a lot of
No,
passing areas. Um, we saw some early pits down with Russell, Perez,
yeah, they were the first
again,
two I think that came in.
inconsequential.
No, yeah, we saw
Um,
like at lap 8.
yeah, and it was funny because you kinda see, like, they're starting 16th and 17th, and
Yeah,
then they're up until, like, 9th, and you're like, "Wait, when did that happen?" You're like, "Oh, nobody else has pitted yet."
yeah.
Like, they pitted too early. Not sure what plan they were on,
Don't
but
think it made any. Well, it didn't really. It made a difference, I guess, because they got up into the points,
yeah,
but
but but, I
yeah.
mean, at that point, they're just trying to get past the Alpines and the
Yeah,
Williams
yeah, which
and
was pretty
stuff.
easy work.
So, yeah, exactly. But lap 35, we get the screen, the radio that Alpine is bringing in Gasly to retire the car.
Did you see what that was? Because I have no idea what happened.
I have no
It just
idea.
said retire the car, and he just drifted off into the distance, and we didn't see him.
Didn't
I
see
didn't
him
see
get
him.
out of the car, didn't see him go into the pits.
Didn't hear an interview with him
No.
in between the race. We had no idea.
He just left. I think he actually just went home.
He
He
might
just
as well
went
have. He
on
just
his way to Belgium,
yeah,
just over it. Which second race in a row for Alpine and specifically for Gasly.
yeah, 2 retirements, like, pretty early in the race.
Yeah. I mean, 35 laps is literally halfway in this one, but I mean, he wasn't doing anything before, but you also didn't come out for for Q2.
Yeah, and it was
Like,
not like it wasn't an accident, it wasn't debris, it wasn't whatever, it wasn't, puffs of smoke coming out. It was just, "Hey, just bring it in.
just
Just bring it
bring
in.
in the car.
Bring it in."
You
Yeah.
know what? We don't
We
want you to
got
drive today.
we got 11 more races to go. We need this
Yeah.
thing to last.
We
So
got
this
a lot
thing,
of problems
yeah,
already.
we're not winning anything. So
No. Same lap, we see Max and Lewis fighting again.
good old Max Lewis.
Great,
Yeah,
great
yeah.
fighting. Um, Max or no, Lewis locks up,
Lewis locked up in that one. Yeah,
and then Max gets him, but he goes wide
but he goes wide right away. Yeah,
right away. But it's always, I think, since from 2021, we haven't seen them really fight.
no.
They haven't needed to fight because the
Well, they
Mercedes
haven't been
hasn't
anywhere
been
near.
good.
Yeah, they haven't been anywhere near each other, and now they're starting to close up a
Yeah,
little bit.
and it's nice to see them fighting. They're both
Until one of them is just literally thrown
talented.
upside down again.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. And yeah, anyways. Um, yeah, then we start to so that was lap 35. Uh, Max complaining the entire day. I think
It
we may
was
have said that
it
already,
was
but
until the last 10 laps with McLaren, it was Max radio all day.
yeah, and he was nasty. And I think we forgot to mention that it was confirmed that Max did another 24-hour Le Mans
Well, he participated in the 24
yes,
hour sim.
Sim
sim
Lamar,
race,
yeah,
whatever, yeah, and he drove 3.5 hours,
yeah,
but from like midnight to 3 a.m.
yes,
What
and
I was trying to think about it, and so I mean, I don't know what time he has to be at. The race is at 3 p.m. Um, Hungarian time, whatever time zone that is. Whatever, it was 3 p.m. there.
yeah.
And he had 12 hours. At what point, like, what time does he have to be at the paddock? Where is it going to affect him? Like, does he have to be there at 9? Does he have to be there
I
at 11?
I would think so because I'm the only reason I say this is because I did see when they were in Canada, the race was at what, 3 or 4, I think?
2 or 3?
Okay, 2. Yeah,
It's
quali was at
usually like
4.
if it's a day
Yeah,
race, it's usually around like 2, 3
2 or
o'clock.
3.
Yeah.
So I did see that some of the drivers started to arrive at 8:30, right? Yeah, 8 or something in the morning. And then going back to what you're saying now is like they still do the driver meetings that in the
They
morning.
do.
So then the teams have to meet. So I think it would impact him doing sim racing till
So
3 a.m.
because he's done this earlier in the year, because he did it at Imola, right? If he did that,
Yes.
he qualified first. This is before all the cars were all bunched up, but he qualified first. He did his sim race probably about the same time. Did a 3.5 hour stint
Yeah.
in the middle of the night, basically, and then came back to win the race in first. You think he's just like got so much bravado? He's like, I've done it before. I'm gonna do it again until it affects me. Just shut up and let me do my thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking. It's exactly what he's thinking. And I think today is the perfect example because I mean, Brundle and Crofty, the entire
He
race were
kept bringing it up.
saying, "This sounds like a grumpy, tired man."
It's almost like he was up sim racing.
Yeah, it's almost like he was up when he should have been
Yeah,
sleeping. And I think what makes it worse, it's not like he was up trying to sim race the Hungaroring.
studying. Yeah,
He is doing a
team
completely
strategy.
different
Yeah, yeah,
race.
yeah.
Like,
He's in a different mindset. He's
yeah,
talking to
like,
his buddies. And then how do you
yeah,
come down from that? If you're done at 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, it said actually here till 3:18 is when he got out of the car. So
got out
he's
of
not getting
his
to
seat.
bed till at least for another 15, and he's probably a little amped up, maybe another half hour. So it's pretty close to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, I mean, I can run off no sleep, but
Everybody can
I'm not in a Formula One car.
Everyone can run off no sleep. I do it all the time. Doesn't
Yeah,
mean I'm the nicest person when I'm tired.
this is true. And trying to drive
I'm pretty sure you're the
70
same
laps.
way.
Oh
Exactly, yeah.
yeah,
And
so
you're hot and your mentality,
bothered.
sorry, your brain is working overtime. You've got so
Yeah,
many things going on in your head. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's going to affect your mood a
yeah.
little bit.
You're
A
just
little
gonna
bit.
be a little crank. You're in 3rd or 4th, I think, at that point, and you're just trying to get to 1st.
And I think GP was just like you friggin' idiot.
You
Like you did this
Yeah,
to yourself.
yeah.
Stop
Like,
taking it out on me.
well, I think it's funny because usually GP has his sassy or snarky remarks back to Max, but you could see this race, he was starting them. Like, GP was
Yeah,
kind of
he
being a
was
little
not.
sassy
Yeah,
first. He
yeah,
was he
yeah.
was grumpy too. He was probably awake watching the sim being like, "Dude,
He's
get out
probably
of the
getting updates
car."
on his phone like, "Fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man, go to bed."
Yeah. Exactly. Um, so we have lap 47 is kind of where stuff goes off the rails. Oscar's in first, Lando's in second, Lewis is in
Third.
was Lewis in third at that point? Yes.
Beliefs, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Oscar's ahead by quite a few seconds. I want to say 4 or 5
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah, something like that.
And McLaren makes the call to pull Lando in.
Well, just before that, they had talked about like Brundle and Croft are going back and possible strategy, and
Yeah.
what do you do in this situation? Because you've got the possibility of the undercut. You lose 20 seconds in the pits.
Yeah.
Um, I think Norris was probably 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Lewis at that point
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So they're thinking about that, and they're Brundle was saying, you give the race leader first crack at service, right? He's going to go out and he's going to
Yes.
stay first, right?
Yeah.
You should be giving it to him. And it just seems like the right call.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
not
not
what McLaren does. They
it's not
decide, F it, you know,
yeah. It's
they,
not the call.
yeah, they, and this, I think they disguised it as this. I think they were giving it to Lando because it's Lando, and he's their race winner.
Yeah.
But disguise it as, we're gonna pit Lando first to cover off Lewis. Oscar, don't worry, because they were quick on the radio to Oscar.
Oh,
Like, don't worry,
it
don't
was
worry,
like
don't
box,
worry.
box.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
don't worry,
Like, yeah.
Oscar. He's going to give that position back if he gets the undercut. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Don't. And they were
Yeah.
trying to reassure him for a whole two, because it was 2 laps later. I think he came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lando was able to get his outlet, get those tires warm, and then
Yeah.
have a great second lap.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I kind of almost instantly we messaged each other and we're like,
It's not.
this is
It's not
at
good.
the end of the day, this is you're still undercutting.
Yeah.
Regardless
Yeah.
of what you want to claim it as
Yeah.
or disguise it, it's still an undercut. You just undercut your first place driver.
You're putting a lot of faith. I mean, they must know I know they know their drivers, but you're
Yeah.
putting a lot of faith in your driver,
Yes.
whose sole job it is to win.
Yeah.
That's what you pay them for. They don't win, and you're looking for other drivers.
Yes.
You're
And
putting a lot of faith in somebody to say, yes, I'm going to get that position back.
yeah. And I understand what McLaren is saying, right? I understand that they're saying we have the 1-2. We back up third place. We cover off third and fourth because they're still, they still have to worry about Max possibly coming for Lewis.
Yeah.
So they're trying to back up. They're going to give the space to number 1, and number 2 is going to do the fighting. But you've just made your race leader number 2 by doing that.
Yeah.
And he was comfortably ahead. Lando wasn't really pushing to fight him. So, and I think almost immediately McLaren probably realized what they did and
100%.
were like, we fucked up.
Yeah.
We messed up because Oscar eventually comes in. He comes out in third, I think. Third or fourth he comes out in.
Yes, because Lewis and Max hadn't pit at that point.
Yeah, they had to pit as well. So it didn't take long for him to kind of get back into second. And a race that's only 70 laps, we're going. Lando's not giving that spot back. And Lando has now made a gap of
Lando's racing. Yeah, Lando's.
At one point, it was 6 seconds.
Yep. Yeah. And that was at that point, that's when Oscar's already in second. And so they're pleading with them.
Yeah.
And it was just terrible. It was such a poor thing to see on McLaren's part. But they're pleading with him, and he's just gaining. And Oscar can't do anything to catch up.
No. And they're realizing we've talked about the undercut and how it's a strategic call. It's a team call. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know. I mean, like you said, they probably had all the faith and all the trust in Lando that he would just give the spot back. Lando stopped responding to the point that his engineer had to say radio test.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I can hear you. But they're, like you said, they're pleading with him. And
can I read you some of the messages? Like,
please.
These are, so we have,
my blood is boiling talking about this already.
Like, and it looks so bad on McLaren. Like, it looks like they have no cohesion in this team. Like, they have no idea what they're doing. And he's like, they're on the radio to him saying, we know you'll do the right thing. Hiroshi is stressed about the tires. So they're trying to make it about the tires. They're also trying to plead to him, trying to play on his emotions. 10 laps to go. We think both cars are using their tires too much. Just remember, every single Sunday morning meeting we have, like, you have to face this guy every Sunday morning.
Guilt trip.
We need you to save some tires. We don't, we do want you to let Oscar through. So again, just stop making it about the tires. You just want him to go through. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
At some point, he says, "Lando, if there's a threat of the safe, there's no threat behind. If there's a safety car now, it's going to make it very awkward. Please do it now."
Well, and
And he
like,
says, "You don't need to say anything. Just shut up."
well, the what I thought was interesting was the safety car comment, because now you're just like instilling fear.
Yeah,
Like, I know sometimes safety car is a strategy that you go into the weekend and you say, okay, we know, like, we're gonna hope for a late safety car, or we're gonna hope for this, but like, to use that strategy against
yeah,
your 1 and 2 is
yeah.
awful, and it's gonna be awkward. We're gonna, but do it at your convenience. But it's gonna be awkward if you don't
Well,
actually
and
do it.
they talk to him like he's like his little brother. Just let him
Yes,
win. Like Lando, he can't catch you up. Like that's not his problem. He
that
says,
well,
you've proved your point. It doesn't really matter."
and Lando responded, "It
I
does to me."
he says, "I mean, I would have tried the undercut anyways." And then he said, "Mate, we did the stop sequence in this order for the good of the team." He says, "Yeah, I'm fighting for a championship."
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
right. He's not wrong.
He's absolutely right, and
He's just responding to a bad call his team made. At this point,
you guys made
yeah,
the call.
exactly.
I'm capitalizing on the call that you made.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, at one of the earlier, radios that we heard from him when they were, like, begging for him to, give the spot back, he says Lando responds and said, "Should have pitted him first then,"
Yeah.
which is true.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
This is 100% on McLaren. It's
a
100%.
1,000, and then they made it about Lando,
Yeah. They
and
even told him on the radio, like, the way to win a championship is not for yourself. With the team. You are going
it's a
to need
team.
Oscar later on. Like, stop playing on his emotions. You
Yeah,
created this problem.
yeah, and I was just watching and just livid. Like, it wasn't fair, and I know it's not a fair sport, and I know it we've talked about this before as well. Your biggest rival on the grid is your own
Mm.
teammate.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a team sport, but your biggest rival is your teammate.
And it
And
doesn't
so
matter.
now you're saying, "Just let him by. Just give him this win."
You've seen time and time again people ignoring team orders. And in
Yeah.
this case, nobody would have blamed Lando for ignoring this
No,
team order. He's in
I think he
second in
should
the
have.
championship. I think he should have too. I wanted
I
him to.
I
I want
wanted
him
him
to.
so
I mean,
badly.
he was very political, I guess, in his media pen kind of interview, talking about,
Yeah.
you know what, he's done it for me before, and I just thought about that, and I was always going to give that position back. Which I think he knew he was always going to give it back. I think he was trying to prove a point that he's the better driver. He's the number one. I don't think he should have given it back.
I see my thing with it is, if Oscar, like, at the end of the day, Oscar wasn't the faster car.
No,
At that point, like, you got away well, um, because of something that happened between Max and Lewis and Oscar, and Lando, but, you got away and you were able to stay whatever. But at that point, Oscar didn't have the pace. So,
no,
there's been times Carlos did it earlier this year in Australia when he won, and he came on the radio and said, "Get um get Charles to get closer to me. We'll take this home together."
yeah.
That's just wanting to share in the 1-2. Lando had to take his foot off the gas
He
for Oscar
stopped.
to even
He
catch him
got in.
up.
Yeah, he got into the straight and literally just
Just
stopped.
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 Like, if you can't catch me, sorry, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve the spot. You're not the faster car in that
No,
moment. And okay, it's a team sport and what have you, but this also showed
this was a team call and team fucked up.
the team fucked up.
Yeah,
And it's just, it really sucks because they had the fuck up and they made it Lando's problem.
yeah, yeah.
And they wanted him to play offense
And
and defense at the same time.
they sounded so pathetic
Yeah.
for the rest of the race.
And I mean, you have to, like, thinking about Oscar now, and nothing against Oscar. We both like Oscar. We think
Yeah.
he's hilarious.
Oh, it's
Like,
great.
he's great fun. He's a great driver. Uh, but no one's gonna remember your win. He
They took
might, but
but if I'm him too, I'm not happy about this win.
no,
I didn't win.
no, because you had to beg my teammate
The
to
team
let me by.
the team took all the wind out of his
Yeah,
win.
yeah,
That's a
because
terrible
you
sentence, didn't make any sense. But they deflate it's just it's such a to me like a useless kind of feeling. Like I wouldn't have felt like I won.
no, I mean, it's I don't even know what to say. Like, it was one of the most bizarre wins
It
and
was
lackluster first wins. Like, I think the only person that I saw go up to him outside of Lewis and Lando, who barely went up to him, but
Lando went up to
um
him as soon as they stopped. He
and
got
then
out and
walked
yeah.
walked away real
And then
fast.
and then and then Oscar was at him all the time.
Yeah.
Like I think he was trying to kind of repair that kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But the only person that I saw go up to him um was
Charles.
Charles.
Yeah.
He was the only person.
Only person that showed. Well, Max went to go blow up his paddock as
Yeah.
soon as that race was over.
Yeah.
Um, and
And we haven't even
and
talked
and
about Max
and
yet,
the whole
but
media pen. Yeah.
yeah.
uh,
Uh yeah, it was such a bad call and just, you know, a
it's
driver is
bad luck.
already going yeah, a driver's already going through so much. Um, you mentioned it before. They're hot. They're tired. They're like
Mentally exhausted.
mentally exhausted. They're trying to just keep the car in the apex. They can't have track limits. They can't do all these things. And then at the same time, you're now having a full on conversation and the
Not a good one.
conversation, it's not a good one, and you're pulling at the human side of the person, like the emotional side of somebody.
Yeah,
That
really.
is not
No,
fair in
no,
that moment.
no.
Um, eh, we posted it.
And
Uh,
yeah,
couldn't be me.
and I'm
Could
pretty
not be
no,
me.
I'm pretty sure that I think we heard it. I could be wrong, but I'm sure that Lando said as soon as he let Oscar pass, just shut up and let me drive the rest of the race. Like
Yeah,
I'm done.
he did. He said, "You don't need to say anything."
Yeah,
The one thing that really bothered me too is maybe we didn't hear it in any of Oscar's radios after he let him pass. And once he'd won, he didn't mention Lando's name. He just kept saying the team. And at the end of the day, it was the team forcing Lando to do it, but Lando did it.
yeah,
And that would be the first person I would be
yeah. Because he had a pretty
like,
long radio message
yeah,
after the checkered flag,
yeah.
and I don't think I did hear
He
Lando. No,
didn't he didn't say it. He didn't say it when Nico interviewed him. He didn't say it after in the pen, and
yeah,
they
that's true.
someone asked him someone did mention Lando's name, and he said, "Well, but he still didn't thank him."
No,
Like, that would piss me off even more, but
well, I mean, it's not like we didn't see Lando pissed off because he was
oh,
pissed off.
he
I
was
mean,
fuming.
usually you would have, especially a 1-2, you would have a quick, 1-2 car, at least a half a lap around. He
Yeah,
didn't. He kind of went by, gave him a quick thumbs up, and took off.
yeah,
Um, we saw him very subdued when he went to go cheering with his teammates or his pit crew, um, an
because because
an
they know.
and
They
yeah,
know.
an angry cool down room where Lando was just snapping at everybody, and you'd seen it first, until you sent it to me, just snapping
Jeez.
at Lewis out of nowhere, and Lewis was just like, "Holy shit, man! Like,
Lewis is like, "Dude,
take it easy. I'm just
I'm
telling you,
just
you're
saying.
fast. That's it.
Your
Like,
car is fast."
why are you bringing up 7 years ago?"
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
I mean, but Lewis was quick. He was like, "Were you even here 7 years
yeah,
ago?" But, like
yeah, and speaking of like I'll say it again, taking the wind out of his win. Um, what would normally be a very big celebratory kind of thing on the podium, was very anticlimactic. And
yeah,
stupid F1 Instagram posts Lando in Hungary, and I think they did it on purpose. Is just like this
Yes.
time he learned his lesson,
Yeah.
but they were just showing how angry he was.
Yeah.
They put last year's and this year's. Last year, obviously, him breaking Max's trophy.
Trophy.
This year, he slams it on the ground instead of on the podium.
Yeah.
But Lando completely ignores Oscar. Everybody does.
He
Everybody
ignores
does.
him. He
Poor
sprays Lewis.
the poor guy, and Lewis goes to McLaren's engineer, and not even to Oscar. And
Yeah.
Oscar's standing there by himself, kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'll go over here now.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it
he's
was,
like Oscar's spraying it on everybody else. And
yeah,
it's like he's the
it
winner.
was so like the poor kid,
Yeah.
uh, for his team to just destroy his first win like that.
It's it's not a good first win.
No,
I don't want that to be
no.
my first win. Uh
And for a team that's getting so much right now to get
yeah.
this so wrong.
Yeah. I don't think Zach was there this weekend because we didn't
He
hear
might have been
from.
at he might have been in Indy this weekend. They did have Indy in Toronto this weekend,
Oh,
which was
that's right.
not a good showing for McLaren because one car just completely
Yeah. Oh
destroyed
my
it.
god.
So,
God.
I don't know if it was one or both, but
I think they both got taken out. But
yeah,
first one was Patty, I
destroyed.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Patty Award. Um But yeah, I mean, we didn't hear from Zach. Again, we know he watched the race, but again, I don't think he was actually there.
And he wasn't
Um,
like Toto calling in saying, "Guys, just
just keep it on the
patch me
track.
through."
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I did say to you, which Nico Rosberg, I said it during the race, just saying.
And
And then
out of all the things that happened
I know
today,
it's
Nico was my shining light.
right.
No.
But Nico Rosberg being at the end, he kind of said a team radio. The only way you can like argue or get mad at Lando is if you're firm. Is you have to. It's not do it at your
Hey, come on.
convenience.
Yeah, can you
Yeah,
please?
it's Lando switch the position.
Yeah,
Like it has to be a directive. So when he doesn't
yeah.
in the Sunday morning meeting, you
That was
have
our
the
call. Like,
yeah
yeah. Now we don't have any
as
reason
a
to get
team,
mad at you. We're
right?
getting yeah.
So again, just bad how they handled it. I see what they wanted to do. They just went about it horribly.
Completely horribly.
And I mean, did Lewis even have the pace?
Well, at that point, probably not.
No.
I mean, I think, if Lando could possibly, if they're telling Lando, try and build a couple of seconds more if you can find
Yeah.
it. I know his tires were old, whatever.
Yeah.
Lewis and Max haven't pitted yet. Even if you come out behind them, you're still probably going to be able to undercut them and take them back over later on.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, you probably come out ahead. Like, I don't think if they're fighting behind you before they make that pit stop, you're probably going
Yeah.
to be okay. It might be close,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you're going to be all right.
Make the call about defense and only defense because it was like we're going to do the undercut which puts you on the offense.
Yeah.
Like so it just but we're going to say it's because we want to protect the position, but it just
It
it
seemed like
it didn't make sense.
no, it sounded like very much like an overthinking kind of call.
Yeah, and it's funny because McLaren is one of those teams that they make those calls like they did in Miami. We'll wait when hope for a
Let's
safety car.
let's gamble a little bit. Yeah.
And it's like that's the most chances are it can happen, but that's like real gamble. Like, if your
Yeah.
strategy is just hoping for a safety car,
Well, and you saw it too. Like, oh, we can't take the change now because there might be a safety car. You never know. Which,
I mean, George was still driving, so if anything's possible.
yeah.
But
Well, a couple of laps left.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, he gave the lap back on, or he gave the position back
It
on
was
lap 68, I
Yeah,
think,
3 left or
of
something like
of
that. Or, yeah,
70,
yeah,
and
yeah. He
eh,
waited till like it was like
yeah,
he couldn't wait anymore.
and I mean, you can watch the video. It literally looks like if they had the brake lights like on a
Oh,
regular
there's no
car,
way. Yeah.
like
I mean,
he hit the brakes.
he's 5, 6 seconds ahead. He should be halfway down that pit straight.
Mhm. Yeah.
and he lets him
He just
go at the finish
he
line or
he just
wherever it was.
waits.
Yeah.
He just waits, and if I have to take my foot off to give you the position, sorry,
He could have
it's not
stopped.
yours.
He could have stopped and ordered a coffee
Yeah,
and wait for him to come around and just
it's not
yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
It's not, and we want Oscar to have his first win. I just
Earn it.
today wasn't your day. Sorry.
No.
Come
Earn
out
it.
and Spa. You
And
can
you
do
would
it
have
again.
earned it if your team didn't fuck it up.
Yes.
But your
Yeah.
team did, and
Yeah.
Lando should have had that win.
Yeah. For sure. I think we're over our rant
Yeah,
about this.
yeah, yeah.
But the other big piece of news from the race was we had a almost identical accident between Max
Yes,
and Lewis.
yes. Which
So
shouldn't have, but it put a big smile on my face because they were both okay.
because they were both okay,
Yeah,
but it truly is, other than, the cars flipping upside down and driving over the halo, um, I it was kinda replicated. What was
yeah.
it? It was Silverstone, wasn't it?
No, 'cause Silverstone. No, Silverstone was the one that Lewis took out Max on the outside, and he went 5 Gs or 50 Gs or whatever the hell,
Yeah,
whatever it was, into the
whichever one that
past the
they
gravel. Yeah, it wasn't.
yeah,
No, it was. It was. You're
a
talking about the
couple
one
years
where
ago.
Max landed on top of Lewis.
Yes.
That was in is it Imola or Monza. It was one of the Italian ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, and, we have Max doing his aggressive driving, which
It was late breaking.
that's all it was, is he late braking and he locked up.
So it was funny because it was like they were coming off of I think they were coming off of the straight and
Yeah.
they were actually passing a car with a blue flag. So
Yes.
Lewis is already in the middle.
I wanna say it
Max
was Bottas that
maybe
was
yeah.
behind.
Lewis is in the middle. Max is off on the inside. Lewis Max says Lewis um uh, what do you call it? Moved under braking, but he was at the braking zone.
Yeah.
He's just taking that corner. He's ahead of the
Yeah.
corner. Max was late braking, and Lewis clips his back tire, and
Yeah.
Max pretty far in the air.
Yeah, I mean, again, watching the replay, Lewis's tires he hadn't started to turn yet, so we can't say he turned into you. Like, he hadn't
Yeah,
started yet.
yeah.
So, um, I think it was just late braking, which Max is great
Does
at late braking.
yeah, he took his chance on it, and
Because and today it locked up. Um, he's done it before where he doesn't lock up,
yeah,
and
and he
people
was.
have complained about it, that Max is late braking.
I don't
It's
know
just what he
how.
does.
Max has also done a lot of the braking under or moving under braking as well,
Correct,
so he knows what it
correct.
looks like.
Yeah,
But he went off and came back on 2 places behind Lewis, not 1 place behind Lewis, because then
correct.
Charles came. Which I mean, yeah, Charles came across. Which good on Charles because they went on a one-stop strategy and it worked
Mhm.
for him. He moved
The
himself back into fourth
Yeah,
because Max effed up.
yeah,
And somehow there was no damage or minimal
to
damage.
either car.
Yeah, yeah. I thought one of them was gonna have a puncture. There was
Yeah,
nothing. There's no little bits flying off anywhere.
yeah.
Part of the what do you call it? The floor or anything.
No,
Nothing.
Max just went off, went right back
Came
on. They
right
had a
back up.
yellow flag for 3
2 sec.
seconds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
And then
but
the radio message started.
yeah. I mean, again, Max
No,
was
it
very
continued.
quick. He was very quick on
Yeah,
there saying, late breaking. Uh, Lewis, typical, saying, "I didn't move,"
yeah.
which he didn't. He didn't
No,
move.
he was taking that corner like he normally would,
Yeah.
which the
Um,
FIA saw with their telemetry and all that other stuff that they look at
yeah.
afterwards.
Which kind of led to Max's radios
Yeah,
do you have Max's radio there?
I do. I have a couple of them, a few of them.
Do you have
Oh, do
Max's?
I have that one? I don't. Oh, I thought I did.
No, but I mean, he really he had a bad race.
He said that he moved in the braking zone, and GP came back at him with like, "I'm not even going to get into it on the radio in a radio fight with other teams, Max. We'll let the stewards do the thing. It's childish on the radio, Max. Childish."
Yes. And I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, when there is an accident, if we want to call it an accident, or some sort of collision, cars coming together, the stewards are going to look into it. It's picked up right
Yeah,
away, and
and
the
the
car's
dr
in
the
the air.
and the drivers will get on the radio right away, so the stewards will take a look at something. Like, they're gonna
Yeah,
call it out because they want
yeah,
them to take a look. They wanna draw attention to it.
yeah,
But this one seemed more like he wasn't drawing attention to it. He wanted them to be like, "He needs a penalty."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I mean, again, Max late breaking, locked up. I mean, we saw the smoke and then it was just
Yeah, he
up
had
in
no
the
choice.
air.
Yeah, he was out of
It
not out of
yeah.
control, but he didn't have full control of the car at that
No,
point.
and I don't think it was a situation of Max trying to run Lewis off the
No,
road, like, it wasn't and
he
I
tried to
mean,
move and it didn't work. We see it all the
it
time.
didn't work, yeah. And to the point that Max initially, it was we knew Max was gonna be called to the steward's office to talk about it after the race. Um,
Did you see the radio
Lewis got
message?
Lewis got called to the stewards as well.
Yeah.
They both
Well,
had
they're
to go.
and they had to defend their position.
Yeah,
Did
and
but did you see Max's radio message on his, I guess, not the victory, obviously, not the victory lap, but the last lap to come back into the pits,
no.
where GP says, "I understand the medical delegate needs to have a look at you
Yes.
and examine you," because he had a pretty big hop in the thing,
Yeah.
and he says, "Well, we can send them to the stewards so they can see if they're check if they're all okay." That's not gonna help you when you've got a meeting
Yeah.
with the stewards.
He, he was on one today.
Yeah,
But, they late or this or a couple hours ago now, we did get the notice of that meeting with the stewards, and
their positions.
shockingly,
Yeah. Racing incident.
no racing incident
Yeah,
and no further penalties.
which
Max
is
is not gonna lose his 5th place position.
it's the right
Um,
call, I think.
I think it's a right call, and interestingly enough, Lewis also said it was a racing incident.
Yeah.
So it just he would have done the same thing. It would have happened to
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah, and he wasn't upset about it, and I think now that
No,
they'll go on and they'll be fine with
it's
it.
over.
Yeah, once they
It's
look at
all
it after,
over.
yeah, for
Yeah,
today.
for until Spa
Yeah,
next weekend. Um, but yeah, I mean, interesting race. Lots of drama. Lots
lots
of
of good drama, like, it's all
good
racing drama.
drama.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It was kind of what you want, what
It
you
had
want
everything,
to
yeah.
see in a race. Is that all for the race? I think
I think that is all for the race.
Lewis gets his 200th podium
Yes.
actually.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
most podiums in F1. I think you already had
congrats
that
to Lewis.
anyways, but it was his 200th.
Yeah. Congrats. So Lewis gets his 200th. Oscar gets his first
His first race win.
win.
Yuki gets some points. Yuki got into 9th quietly.
Oh,
Again, nobody knows what
again,
the
we
hell
didn't see
happened below
anything
6th.
below
Right?
6.
Carlos ended up in 6th. Perez and George made up to 7th and 8th. Yuki gets
Yeah.
to 9th. Lance Stroll gets those all the what you were saying.
Yes.
Basically the same thing. Team orders and Lance Stroll
Yes.
ignored them, which I
So
didn't notice.
this has been a debate, kind of online, like, well, Lewis wouldn't give back the spot. Max wouldn't give back the spot. So why are we expecting the nice kid to give back the spot? And funny enough, I didn't see this. I only saw it after. Was that Aston Martin made the same call? They wanted to fight Yuki, so they asked Alonso to let Stroll pass. It seemed that Stroll had the pace. Um, Alonso, they said we'd let you back through if Stroll can't get him. Stroll couldn't get him. They asked Stroll to give the position back, and Stroll said no.
Yep.
And Alonso also raged for the rest of the race. Um, I don't think in the moment we saw or we knew why he was so angry. We did see him angry all race,
All
but
race.
I don't think we knew exactly why he was so angry.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. So, I mean, in the same race, you see one driver give it back, and then you see the other driver that's like us and like, I ain't giving it back.
But
Earn
would
it.
would Alonso really give that back if that was
Alonso
him?
would not give it
Probably
back.
not. I mean, you
No,
talk about like Lewis too. Like Lewis wouldn't give that back, but they know who that person is.
correct.
Lando, it's a lot to ask him to give that place back, but they're pretty confident that he would.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody was pretty confident that he would. When
Yeah.
everybody saw him not giving it back, I think everybody was pretty happy.
Yeah.
But
The other thing with it too is we're going back to this rant. McLaren, McLaren was getting the 1-2.
yeah,
If you want to allow Kevin to win his predictions, we need Lando to get closer to Max.
damn right. Well,
So
it's happening. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Okay,
I think you're right.
McLaren, stop fucking this up.
You're ruining this
Okay,
for me.
Max is winning. He's going to be ahead. Going to the break. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
That's
Well, now
he's
that they
doesn't
let
matter.
Oscar win.
He was far enough ahead that he
Yeah.
even if Lando won these next two, he was
Yeah.
still not going to catch Max.
Yeah.
But he's got 10 races after this to
Yeah.
catch Max.
Yeah.
Now, I said it was going to be Charles. That is not going to happen. That's
Come
nowhere
on.
near happen.
Come on.
Okay, Max could die, and
Stop.
Charles could win everything going forward,
Oh,
and
jeez.
maybe, but I could still be half right,
You'd be half right.
which I'll take because in my household I am 0 right.
You will.
But
I mean, yeah, like you said it too. If Lando ends up losing the drivers' championship by
by,
5,
by 5 points,
by 5 points, which is the 5 points he didn't get today by
he didn't
finishing
get
in
7
second,
points. There was a 7 point
or
difference. So
7 points, right?
if there's anything in that 7 point difference that he doesn't get, or he loses the champ, or doesn't take Max by somewhere in those 7 points,
He
he will
is,
remember this race,
yeah,
and it will not be good for him, his relationship with McLaren.
no.
Those
I don't
exit
think so.
clauses that everybody's got might be in play.
I actually think if Zach was in Toronto, I'm pretty sure he was in Toronto. If Zach was in Toronto, he was on a plane right after the race here ended. He is flying to wherever Lando is right now.
Taking him to a spa in
Yeah,
Spa
in Spa.
and kissing his feet clean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's got to be a lot of kiss
100%.
ass right
Oh
now.
yes.
Um, and the other thing that I was looking at was Oscar. Oscar was in 5th. He is still in 5th, even getting this
Yeah,
first place. So
he's in, and it blew. I knew it was a very short time in F1, but when he says it's been a whirlwind 18 months, I'm like, 18 months. Like, you
mhm,
prioritized your driver who's been in
mhm,
F1 for 18 months
yeah,
over this guy who's painstakingly stayed with you
yeah,
for the last 6 years, 5 years,
5 years.
something like that.
2019. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
When they signed him, 2020.
and
Yeah,
like he's very loyally stayed with you, worked with you. He got his first race win. He's been the better driver in the last 4 or 5 races, the best driver on the grid.
yeah.
And he's doing what you're paying him, what you sign him to do in February for the next however many years, because nobody knows.
Yeah,
But like, this is your number. You've made him your number one.
not today.
Nowhere else in F1 have they ever said, Bottas, you're gonna just you're gonna take this one. We're gonna give it to you today because Lewis has enough.
Yeah.
Or whatever, whoever,
You
and
won
any of the,
one. You won one.
yeah,
Like, no,
and
it
any of
doesn't
the
work like that.
hundred friggin' teammates that Schumacher had. It's never happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why? Anyways, we've beaten this to death.
We've circled back to it. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. It's just crazy. Anyways,
Oh,
congratulations, Oscar.
congratulations. Yeah. Put an asterisk
We
on this.
stay behind.
Yeah.
Like gritted teeth. But I mean, okay, now what? Now what? Do they just race? And it's just we both have one in the same season. Now I think this is actually worse.
It's going to be worse. It's going
I
to be
think
worse.
this is because now they're both fighting for their second win.
I
So
think that your Lando villain era has been completely cemented with
oh,
this. This is his origin story.
this is it.
Okay? This is his origin. Like,
That's my fresh set, by the way.
every origin story that has ever happened to a
Oh yeah.
villain, this is where Lando becomes a villain. It's not his first taste of victory.
No.
It's his first just disrespect that he's had
Yeah.
in this sport.
If we
Anyway,
start seeing Lando wearing turtlenecks, it's over. It's over.
turtleneck. Is he
The
Doctor
villains.
Evil?
Villains always wear turtlenecks.
Why is it gonna be a turtleneck? Those are all cheesy 70s villains. Like, this is not like the Adam West Batman here. This is pow. Um,
Kapow!
okay, so
Okay,
I think we've beaten that all to shit. So let's
okay.
let's move
Let's
on
get
because
some
we're already at
news.
the hour. News is not a lot of news. Does
No,
it really
not
even
a lot.
matter?
No.
Other than we already talked about Max doing his racing stint. It's all been basically mostly um, Red Bull.
Yeah.
Magnussen confirming he's not being back at Haas. It's a big surprise.
This is brand new information.
um, one thing I did want to, like I mentioned to you just before this, was James Vowles being stupidly political. I love James
Yeah.
Vowles, and he's always got the right thing to say. This was the
Yeah.
wrong thing to say. So apparently Williams rules out Ocon as potential, which it's probably going to be in the Haas, and we all know that. But he said where he's at the moment, our paths won't cross. He will have a very successful future in F1, first lie. And then you don't outqualify Alonso unless you are mighty. It's overly nice. And
Mighty
I
Ducks.
overly, yeah, mightily fucking stupid. But, like James is always trying to be the very politically correct, say the right thing,
Yeah.
don't step on
This
anybody's toes. Don't,
this
he
was over the top.
seems like, yeah, don't burn bridges kind of thing. This was like,
Yeah.
okay, he's
Yeah.
not mighty.
Yeah. I don't know about
And I'm
that.
pretty sure, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
there was that, which I thought was strange. I wanted to make a comment because it sounded so stupid. Um, and then how about Marco has an adjusted contract to stay with Red Bull,
yeah.
which people speculate this might keep Max around after this
Yes.
weekend, maybe not, but um,
Yeah.
he's probably getting called by Toto.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, Helmut Marko saying that they're going to make a decision on the second Red Bull seat after Spa,
Correct.
which is not looking good.
It's not looking
I mean, he
good.
did bring it a whole 10 places up this weekend.
Still.
We put a lot of work into that car by
Yeah.
starting it in
A lot
16th.
of money. We gotta find that graphic of showing how much money's
It's
been.
updated now. It should be updated now too, but he's
Yeah.
probably second or third in damage
Yeah.
this year.
And I mean, Logan
And we're
hasn't crashed that much.
no, not since like the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, yeah, I did have a little bit Yuki kind of talking about that Red Bull seat, saying he thinks he's deserving of that Red Bull seat and he's worked and have you. And he says he thinks if it was given to Liam, which is also a rumor, it would be weird. Yuki's words.
now take his grasp of the English language for what it would. I think it more so like
Yeah.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he meant. But yeah, I think he's also being very careful with his words.
Of course, he wants that seat.
Recently.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the other a little bit of Red Bull news, and I made this prediction to you, is Carlos's name has been circulating around that Red Bull seat as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Carlos, we know, still hasn't made a decision. His comment this week was that he was too busy watching the Euros.
Please. I have to go back and discuss it with my
Yeah.
family after I've been home for 2 weeks. This week I
Yeah.
was watching the Euros. How
Yeah.
lazy are you?
Exactly. Like you can't talk and watch the
Yeah.
Euros.
Doesn't bode well for your mental acuity.
Exactly. But could, and this was the prediction that I had said, I think it could be Carlos. It would be going back to Red Bull. He's been a Red Bull driver before. Did he know the like rumors and the mumblings of
I'm
Perez?
sure they know the drivers know a
Everything.
lot. Yeah, the drivers know a
Everything.
lot. I mean, all the drivers talk.
Yeah. They
I'm
have a
all
group
the
chat.
team principals talk.
Yeah.
I'm sure there
So,
are certain things that leak out for sure.
yeah. And I think he may have been holding out to see what happens over the next two races. So he's probably like, okay, one done. Like, we gotta see what happens in Spa. Um, but he's gotta make a decision. This is just getting ridiculous now.
Well, and I'm just sick of the speculation. Like,
Yeah.
yes, sometimes it's Mercedes, sometimes it's Red Bull, sometimes it's he's going to take a year off and be a third driver. Like, who the hell is going to do that?
Yeah. Doesn't bode well for many people that
No.
do that.
Mm.
So,
So, I mean, other
um,
than unless you're Daniel Ricciardo, but then he came back to Red Bull. Um,
yeah,
so who knows? But
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
All I'll say about that is they always pick the worst picture of Carlos when they put that news out there. It's always the one
Yeah.
with his hairs up and it looks like
And
he's
he's like
got like two brain cells. Like, huh? 2 plus 2 is 4.
yeah.
It's not how I
Honestly,
was taught.
honestly.
It's the
He
worst
does
picture.
look yeah.
He
Just
looks
looks
he looks like
stunned.
a bag of rocks. Yeah.
Yeah. Bizarre. Bizarre.
Somebody doesn't
Uh,
like him.
yeah,
Um,
honestly.
yeah, that's it for news. I think there wasn't a lot of big news story, which is their week is
No.
great because we're way over time here. It's been a long time.
Okay.
That's was a good
It's
race.
all good. Um, fresh set,
Fresh set.
dirty air. I think we probably both have the same dirty air. Um,
Yeah,
but,
probably. We might have a
uh,
different fresh set.
I yeah, probably.
So go ahead.
My fresh set is and it's a weird fresh set, but you said it already that we are cementing Lando's villain era. I've been calling it, and this is it. This is the race where we're going to see him not be cute and sweet and so nice and friendly with everybody. This is the turning point, and I'm here for it. And
Okay, so
that's it.
clearly you are like a reality TV lover. If this is the best part of your
That
day.
was part of the weekend.
um,
Yeah.
Mine is gonna be the Nico Rosberg interview.
Yes. It was good.
Nico was great in the post race interviews,
Mhm.
and having the balls to say, just to go at them with just the truth, really, asking Lando about the team call,
Yeah.
and then it looked like you weren't going to switch, and then just putting Lando in a very awkward position. And he moved past
Yeah.
that pretty quickly. He wasn't going to follow up with anything. Obviously, it's a very
Yeah.
public affair.
Yeah.
But he was great with all the drivers. He was great with Lewis. Um, Oscar's terrible in an interview, but that's just Oscar.
He's just
But yeah, no,
yeah.
it was Nico Rosberg. That post race interview really kind of just was a cherry on top of that race.
Yeah, he also, after the race, he was talking to Andrea Stella.
Yeah,
It was him, Naomi, and that wasn't David Coulthard, whoever it was. And he kind of told Andre, and he was standing beside Andrea Stella, who's the team principal of McLaren, and he told him right to his face, from experience, you cannot do at your
yeah,
convenience. You can't be,
wishy
dancing
washy.
around it.
Yeah,
You gotta have firm. And he was like, from experience.
yeah,
And
because he was that person. If you gave him an inch, he took a
he was
mile
he
until
was
they
that
told him, "Hey,
person.
listen, you crash with your teammate again, you're paying for the damage."
Exactly.
Yeah,
So, we have he's been in that position. He's been in the rivalry,
yeah.
which in a few weeks we're gonna get into team rivalries. But yeah, he told him right to his face. And Andrea Stella said, I will take it into consideration. So
Which is a big, in
F you.
yeah, Vaffanopoli from
Yeah.
the Italian. Uh,
Yeah. But Dirty Air for me, also Lando. But what I it's not weird. It's you saw how angry he was, how frustrated he was, and then when he gets to the pen to do the interviews after the race, after the podium, he's so defeated. And all of a sudden he's like,
he had like
I
tears in
had
his eyes almost. He was
and
holding
he's
back
like,
tears.
I had a bad start. And he was going on that he had a bad race. He didn't have a bad
No,
race at all.
no.
And so I just thought they wore him down so much
I think he had calmed down. He
that
realized like I still have to play the media game.
yeah. And he just looked so defeated.
Yeah.
after, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this poor guy." Like,
Well, the
all the
adrenaline's worn
emotions.
off and all the
Yeah.
anger's worn off. Not worn off, but
Yeah.
it's kind of just like, okay, I got to do this. I do have to see this guy every Sunday.
Yeah. All the emotions. So I just kind of felt bad for him. I was like, "Oh, he still had the adrenaline right after, and he was
Yeah.
angry, and he was snapping at Lewis, but yeah, he looked defeated after, so
Yeah. My dirty air is everything around that. So it was Lando.
yeah.
First of all, Lando giving that place back, which I don't think he should have. I know why he did, but I didn't like seeing it
No.
selfishly. But it was McLaren in general. It
Yeah.
just that's your number one driver.
Yeah.
You've made him your number one driver. You've cemented that. I mean, you took out Ricardo to keep him there. You wanted a great pairing. Great, you've got a great pairing.
Yeah.
But he's your number one.
Yeah.
He's the one you're going to ride, and he's the one you want to keep there for the next 8-10 years to be the face of your brand.
Yeah.
And he's the better driver. He's been the better driver all season.
All season. And not necessarily at Oscar's fault. His car hasn't always had the
No,
upgrades. He's just
but
he's only been in it for 18 months.
Lando's just been
So,
better. Lando's
yeah.
just been better. And that's
Yeah.
fine. It happens.
Yeah.
But you don't, when you make that fuck up, you don't try to correct it on somebody else's back.
Yeah.
It's
Own it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Own it and be like, "You know what?
Tell Oscar this
We
is
fucked
on us. We'll
Yeah.
get you that win.
Yeah. We fucked up."
Yeah.
So, it was almost like a
I think they felt bad because
participation.
this would have been the second time they fucked his race.
Yeah.
Which I said to you, I said, I hope they don't fuck his race. And then they
Yeah.
did. And then they did. And then
They
they did.
absolutely did it. But
Yeah. The fucking McLaren. Anyways,
oh, God.
I'm not going to beep all these out. It's
Yeah,
too much
okay.
work this episode.
That's okay.
Not that I've beeped out anything else.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you guys back here next week.
week.
It's the Belgian Grand
Grand
Prix.
Prix. And Spa,
In Spa.
Frankfurt, whatever. And
It's French.
whatever. Yeah, something.
And then there's summer
A
break.
big lull. There's 4 weeks until the next race. We got a 3-week break, and then the week. Yeah, so 4-week break. We get back here last week August, right? I think it's last weekend.
Like
last weekend, I think.
Something like that.
Anyways, whatever.
Anyways,
but we'll be around.
Yeah, we'll be around.
Yeah. We're not going on a break either.
Yeah, we're on a break.
We will be here.
Find us on TikTok.
Started thinking about friends and you completely forgot.
Yeah, I did. Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Think that's it. At Fresh Set Podcast. On everything. Comment, like, subscribe, rate, download, send to your friends, send to your family. And
shit, you don't need me anymore. There you go.
I know.
Good. I'm out. See you later. I'm not even gonna say goodbye. I'm just done.
You're just done. And we will see you guys next week.
Drive a fresh set.
Bye.